But you have to look out for the family. That's what you and Bill know. Sometimes you got to look out for the family.
Did this really happen in America? Have you seen the latest attack on U.S. soil? Not another school shooting, not another church attack, not an attack on the Jewish community this time, or any other form of jihad. Something far more sinister. Not an attack from some fringe group or some radical idealist. A CEO was kidnapped by law enforcement and forced into a crime ring for years by a group of local, state, and federal police. That's right. The U.S. spy agency is running a criminal organization all under the chief suspect of the nation's most important investigation in the grand conspiracy, Sally Yates. Sally Yates was not only the U.S. attorney that signed the FISA warrant against Trump, she was the designer and protector of this criminal investigation, this organized racket conducted with untold millions of your taxpayer dollars. Is this possible? Is it possible that a CEO was taken from his home by police and forced into organized crime as a pet project by the spy agencies? Imagine this in the United States of America, right here. Police show up at the house of a young entrepreneur, arrest him for no reason. They build a false case against him and steal everything he has, kidnapping his son and holding him as a hostage for nearly 4 years. Now imagine this in the United States of America, when the police release the man with nothing after 4 years of wrongful imprisonment, a team of U.S. spies using the weaponized FISA surveillance system and an unlimited black ops budget control him by controlling who he can reach by phone or internet. This racket is designed to squander massive amounts of taxpayer money to make one man who they control rich. Then they all expect to get a portion of the settlement. Hello, everybody. I'm Ferris Broxton. I'm that man. I am the unheard witness, the nation's most important eyewitness against Sally Quillian Yates, the chief suspect in the grand conspiracy to control our government. I busted Sally Quillian Yates, and I'm still being silenced today. My case is proof beyond any doubt that the wicked experiments of MK Ultra, which were under Sally Yates' family supervision, and its sub-program of Operation Midnight Climax are far from just a shameful history of the CIA. This is present day. This is going on now. Today, you're going to see evidence that the heinous experiments of MK Ultra were far more successful than our government ever acknowledged. And those techniques have been put into practice by the spy agencies to gain control, complete control over your government officials, those in power. Yes, this is also related to Jeffrey Epstein trying to gain control over our lawmakers and powerful politicians. Despite the ongoing investigations, many of the citizens of our country are distressed by the failure of our Justice Department to successfully prosecute a single spy. When I'm heard, that will change. I busted them. I know how they operate. I am shining a spotlight on the deep state criminals that are pulling the wool over your eyes. When I'm heard, you won't have any doubts. Just last night, my U.S. House Representative Julia Fedorchak called me again to invite me to a teletown hall. This is not a town hall where I can stand up and say, hey, I'm the nation's most important witness. I haven't been heard. No, this is a telephone town hall where she can control who is heard. And I have documented many, many times going to her office and calling her office, and that her promises that everybody will be heard are lies. I'm still silenced. You see, the enemy is not on one side of the political spectrum. The enemy is any part of the secret society or anyone who can be manipulated by the Freemasons into stealing the voices of the American citizens. Censorship and those who do it are the enemy. And this is happening from my representative. I'm not being representative. I think I have a cure for that. I'm running for Julia Fedorchak's office. That's right. I'm running for the U.S. House of Representatives in North Dakota. I need your help to take the reins of our country from the deep state, from the representatives who don't represent the citizens, who have a pre-canned agenda and plan to slowly let the deep state gain more and more control. Fedorchak claims to support Trump in all she does, but she's silencing Trump's best witness right up to the final hour. Now, I told you I was going to show you evidence that our spy agencies have used a refined version of MK Ultra to run a pet project to rip off the taxpayers and run white-collar organized crime. But I'm going to do more than that. I'm going to play some terrifying testimony from the floors of our Congress just last week. The Congressional Oversight Committee of FISA under Jim Jordan. I'm going to pull clips out of hours-long testimony that are bone-chilling, terrifying of what's going on with the deep state and their abilities and how much of a database they have to collect evidence against anyone and everyone. I'm going to explain how they do it, what they've done. As promised, I've recovered many of the videos that I made 16 years ago when I first started investigating these mobsters. You saw me wave those around in the last episode. I'm working on getting those changed, altered into a form where I can put them up on this. And so I only have a tiny little portion of that. But these videos were taken off the internet 16 years ago when I started exposing Sally Yates and this criminal organization that at that time I knew was destroying families for money. I made backup copies and flung them out all around the stomping grounds of the Dixie Mafia, Sally Quillian Yates' ancestral family home in Barrow in Jackson County, Georgia. Sally Quillian Yates and her family long controlled these counties. Their family members were in the Dixie Mafia, over the Dixie Mafia, and had many hitmen silencing the witnesses. You can see more about that by watching my episode number 8 and other episodes in this series. What I'm playing for you today is just going to be a few clips I've watched from an archive of documentation that was recently sent to me from the Dirty South. I'm not the only person that cares about the security of this country. These videos were passed around Barrow and Jackson County, thousands of them, and now some of them are being recovered. The deep state is not wanted. People are realizing what's going on because the same criminals that did this are exposed and they're still in power. It's terrifying, but that's where we are in our government. If this video series if that video series had not been taken off the internet years ago, Sally Yates would have been exposed then. The number of victims from violent criminal immigrants would have been greatly reduced because Sally Yates was the U.S. attorney that Trump fired when she wouldn't enforce the border laws. That's the problem. They were using the murderous criminals as puppets, just like she used her hitmen in Barrow County, as I documented in episode number 8 and 9, I believe. This was censorship. The problem was censorship. They took my videos off the internet, and today I recovered because I knew they would. So I went and I took these DVDs and I bought the equipment 16 years ago and learned how to not only make videos and put them up on the internet, but I burned DVDs with the evidence on them. And those are the DVDs that have been sent to me that I am working on getting produced to put on this program. I only have a tiny little fraction of them, but when you see this, you're going to see if there was any doubt in anybody's mind about the legitimacy of my case. You're also going to see me refer to what other evidence I have that I haven't yet been able to put online. You can watch more about that in previous broadcast. Is it possible that the evidence I'm going to show you right now is proof that the spy agencies still completely control our government? Well, how is it possible that I've been doing this broadcast for so long and I haven't been brought forward as the most important eyewitness in the nation's most important investigation? Obviously, the spy agencies still are censoring to an alarming degree, controlling who knows what. I'm going to show that the spy agencies not only completely control our nation's top investigations, I'm going to show you that the CIA quest, known as MK Ultra and Operation Midnight Climax, were far more successful than most people realize. Let's start with a reminder from the FBI about the evidence of a grand conspiracy within the FBI and how the FBI has tried to hide evidence. Then I'm going to present more of the evidence against the chief suspect. Can we see clip 2, please?
In this very building, there were rooms that were hidden away from the map site of the building, and nobody had access into them. And once we got into those rooms, we found more information related to the Russiagate hoax from prior FBI leadership. Information that was in burn bags that they wanted to have destroyed, but for whatever reason, no one ever got around to it, or they thought we would just never find it. So we have multiple teams. We've built squads for both Russiagate and Arctic Frost, and we're using a grand jury process, and we are issuing, I think we're up to like 75 or 100 subpoenas already, for witnesses. That's what you target first. We also have targets of our investigation, people we think committed acts of criminal conduct.
Okay, so that from our FBI director. They're looking for witnesses that can testify against targets. Sally Quillian Yates signed the FISA warrant against Trump. She is the target. I am the eyewitness against her, but Kash Patel doesn't know who I am. I haven't broken the local news. I'm on the local news, but I haven't broken the national news. This is crazy. This is absolutely proof of censorship. And at the same time, I'm being sabotaged. My finances are being attacked. People hacking in and shutting down my ability to advertise. This is disturbing, y'all. But it's all going to come out in the wash. I will be heard because now I'm running for the office of the people who are censoring me. You might not see me alive after this, but my story will be heard. Now, Kash Patel tells us beyond a shadow of a doubt, the FBI is tampering with evidence, hiding it. And that's what you're going to see in my case. So we can see that they, at the top of our government, have been tampering with evidence, obstructing justice, tampering with court cases, the nation's most important court cases, into who's controlling our government. But we're going to shift to my story. When you see Sally Yates' family legacy from Winder in Jackson County, Georgia, you're going to see that they have a long history of this. They grabbed me and threw me in jail for 4 years without bond or trial while systematically destroying the evidence, which I'm going to be bringing up today and showing you. Investigators and judges going around and taking reports from witnesses, then destroying the evidence and silencing the witnesses. This is a video that I made after the first attack against me and my family. I didn't realize what was going on. I didn't realize that I had been drugged, restrained, and attacked before I made this video. I didn't realize that I had ever met Sally Yates because, once again, I had been drugged. They were planning to pull off a multi-million-dollar heist set up completely by a bogus case. If I had known that or had any intentions of cooperating with these mobsters, I would have never made this video. Clip 1, please.
Now, if someone takes your child from you without reason and keeps them for months without letting you see them, is that not kidnapping?
That might not make a whole lot of sense at first, but that video made 16 years ago shows me after I was arrested on a bogus charge. Okay, police literally came to my house and said, "There's no crime here. Your wife's not hurt. She doesn't claim that you hurt her or tried to hurt her. Your son was asleep in his room when we rang the bell and woke him up. There's nothing here." And then they took a phone call and said, "Somebody wants you arrested. You're under arrest." It was that disturbing. Now, like I said, even before any of this, I had gone through a horrible MK Ultra, refined MK Ultra attack. I talk about it on the last episode, but you can see me documenting that a year ago, before I learned what MK Ultra was, okay, and Operation Midnight Climax, before I made the last episode where I explained that the attack against me, before I made that last video, was a refined MK Ultra. This is something that was controlled, like I said, overseen by the Richard Brevard Russell law family. Richard Brevard Russell himself is the top senator overseeing the secret and the most horrible CIA history that anybody can ever imagine. If you haven't seen it, watch the last video or educate yourself on MK Ultra. But if I had known that I had been attacked, I would never have made that last video with my marriage picture in it. Let me explain why I did that. Police came to my house, arrested me, said, you haven't done anything wrong, but we're arresting you. When I bonded out of jail, the person that came and bonded me out was my builder, who's a suspect and like I'm a witness against him. But 3 days in jail for nothing. There's no justification for any arrest, and we're going to show you that they tried to tamper with the reports. We're going to show you the videos of that also. But I get out of jail and there's a protective order. I get home and they've issued a protective order before I got out of jail saying you can't see your son. You can't approach within 500 yards of him. You can't call your wife. You can't have any contact with her or you'll be charged with a felony. So I take the case to attorneys and I say, what's going on? And they go, oh yeah, there's all kinds of corruption around here. And the DA is going to prison. They're stealing from the domestic violence system. There's a whole criminal organization. So I begin to investigate, like, how is this possible that they can separate my family? You know, and I'm thinking that my wife is just gotten scared and, you know, for whatever reason has decided that she's going to show me that I can't, you know, tell her whatever, you know, she's just going to prove that, you know, she's the boss. I don't know why she's done this, but I had no idea that she had attacked me with a group of people, MK Ultra style, to gain control over me. Or else I would have never had that marriage picture up in that last video. That's really strong evidence when you understand my case. So I was clueless after being arrested the first time. My builder was coming to my house trying to remind me of the commitment that I made when I was restrained, drugged with an IV in my foot, face down on my marital bed, after an even more heinous attack minutes before that attack. Now, those are explained in videos number 7 and 8 on Rumble. This is really difficult. It's not for kids, y'all. But if you want to see those heinous MK Ultra style attacks, refined MK Ultra Operation Midnight's Climax style attacks, you can go to Rumble, type my name, Ferris Broxton, in and watch videos number 7 and 8. In the video clip, you notice that I had a picture of my ex. At that time, I had no idea. I thought that, and they were telling me, they're like, she doesn't want this. She didn't want you arrested. But now there's a protective order. So I'm not just fighting for my son. I think I'm fighting for my family. And all these attorneys that I'm recording, which I have the recordings of now, are telling me, yeah, they're destroying families for money. The district attorney is going to prison. Well, they were, but there was more to it than that. And the mobsters that were doing it then, the white-collar racketeering mobsters under Sally Yates' supervision, she was the U.S. attorney, are still in power today. My ex's attorney is now the chief superior court judge of the Piedmont Judicial Circuit. Same district attorney and same sheriff. I've exposed these people in previous videos. Organized crime, still today in this same area. I wasn't going to turn on her because I didn't understand what had happened. Now let's review last week. MK Ultra tested an array of drugs on unaware citizens to develop truth serum and memory drugs. We talked about the art of memory. This is Francis Yates. The manipulations of the secret society trying to control people through pharmakeia. Alchemy, okay? Secret potions, spells, really, really sick stuff. This is the history of the secret society. This is the secret history that they try to act like is no longer secret. So let's watch from the MK Ultra video clip number 3.
The body count is lost to history. We'll never know the full scope of drugs tested. LSD, yes. Mescaline, barbiturates, amphetamines. We know about those. but the program tested dozens of compounds, some of which were experimental.
There you have it. You can see more of that by watching the last episode. I did understand the first disturbing part in my case. In Barrow and Jackson County, the authorities were getting massive amounts of monies to destroy families. The attorneys that I took my case to were telling me that. And it got to where I just started going in with a recorder in my pocket and recording them. And that is on these videos that I've recovered that were taken off, censored down. They were on YouTube under the handle 357 Cletus, which when I explained that and some of the other stuff that happened in this case, it's going to make a whole lot more sense. But I can't, just one man, I can't do that all today. The police were wholesale robbing the Citizens Bank and destroying countless families through a domestic violence racket. I learned that the DA, Tim Madison, was on his way to prison for federal racketeering involving the domestic violence racket. You should know that the stories have been changed to radically cover up a massive corruption in Georgia that Tim Madison and many other perpetrators were carrying out on the citizens. I read about it from Mike Buffington, the local editor in the paper. It was put under investigation. The FBI took over the investigation and swept up the news articles. But there were many more witnesses to this that have never come forward. They've been silenced, just like the evidence that Kash Patel was telling you about. Sally Yates swept it up and burned it, destroyed it. Who is tampering with evidence, tampering with witnesses, obstructing justice, murdering witnesses? The chief suspect in the nation's most important investigation, who I'm a witness against. The game was more sinister than most people ever realize. They created a monster. The sheriff got tons of money through the domestic violence system, which his wife was in, the DA the same, donations, federal money, everything to protect these poor victims. But there was no victim. It was all fabricated. And then the monster would come back years later after many years of losing everything he had, being wrongfully imprisoned, and sue and get a massive settlement. Once again, ripping off the taxpayer, destroying families. That's you. Ripping you off, destroying families, hopefully not your family, but stealing taxpayer money. The most corrupt government racket that you can imagine. They're still doing this today. It was settled in a black case. The citizens never got to see how much the victim got paid, if they got to read about it at all. Now, let's look again at my case, because I told you 4 years of wrongful imprisonment, losing everything I had, and we're going to show you the police reports show not a mark on the victim. Let's see clip 4, please.
Hi, this video is going to further expose Barrow County investigator Faynette Spalding, as well as an officer, Mark Lacrimosa, for perjuring themselves on the stand and tampering with evidence. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the transcript from the court hearing and compare it with their reports and show that they lied in court under oath. This is Mark Lacrimosa, the officer's testimony, the officer that arrested me. He said that my wife said that she was grabbed at the time and had a little redness. That's what he testified to under oath. Here's his report. It says that my wife stated that she did not fall and had no marks on her.
So you see, the police officer wrote in his report that she was not hurt, did not fall, and didn't have any marks on her. That she claimed that she was grabbed. She didn't claim she was threatened. There's no accusation of a crime here. But yet, watch how they attempt to create a monster. Let's take a little closer look at the situation, because the police manipulated this where they ended up with tens of thousands of dollars of my family heirlooms. All of my property stolen, lost, except for a tiny little portion of it. This is my son, who I haven't seen since he was 1. Picture 1, please. This is really difficult for me. I can't begin to tell you how many times I've reported to the FBI that my son was kidnapped, abducted by a criminal organization through a fraudulent protective order, and they won't even listen. They won't talk to me. They won't respond. They won't put a name on it. Picture 2, please. This is me with my son in front of my house. I can't wait until he is old enough that he can make the choice to find me. I hope they haven't done anything worse than what they've already done to him. The damage that you do to a child when you take his father away is something you cannot put a price tag on. I am demanding the full penalty of law for every single mobster who has done this. How is it that the FBI can stand by silent when I repeatedly report that my child has been abducted? I can't wait to be reunited with my son. Let's go to picture 3, please. This is the house that was stolen from me. I had built this house just months before they decided to set up this racket. Why would I ever build a big fancy house, planning on retiring in it, building it so that I could run my business out of it in retirement, to have it all wasted? Why would I put that much effort into something to have it all just thrown away, stolen? It doesn't make any sense. Let's look at picture 4, please. This is the lot that the house was on. So as you go through this story, I'm hoping that this will put it in perspective, because I'm going to begin to present the evidence of how the officers attacked me. In one of the cases here, I'm going to talk about how officers literally kidnapped me without any charges in my backyard. So I want you to see what this looks like. Putting a gun to my head and trying to drag me out, thinking nobody would see them. You see, I bought the whole cul-de-sac. It's a 4-acre lot back there, and there's only one house that can even see my house. By the grace of God, my neighbors came out, saw the attack, called and reported police brutality, and they've covered that up. I think I have those videos, and you're going to see evidence of that. But when I get them, I'll put more of those up. Unfortunately for me, time is of the essence. In just a couple weeks, I'm going to be able to start collecting signatures to run for U.S. House. So I have to put these videos together and get them out in the public view as much as possible, and as much as I'm not really prepared. That's what has to happen, and I've got to do it. So as I continue to collect the evidence and put it together, you'll see more and more. The next clip is going to give you a taste of that evidence that's to come. Again, I've just recently received this evidence and begun to review it. This is a time-consuming and expensive project, but you can see what other evidence is on these videos that the government took off the internet by illegal censorship. Clip 5, please.
The conspiring parties in this racketeering organization have done nothing short of kidnap my child from me. I have proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that this officer and detective have lied from the stand. I have proven that they have tampered with reports flagrantly, several reports. The first video in this series was a video of my neighbors and paramedics talking about a ruthless kidnapping when the sheriff's deputies tried to kidnap me. Let's look at the report and see how horribly they tampered with that. You heard what the witnesses said in the first video. Here, the officer, Christopher Jackson, that wrote the report, states that Jackson County said I'd been involved in an incident in criminal trespass and that there would be charges brought in relation to that incident. But there's no report of that. You heard me talking to an investigator in Jackson County. Here's an interesting part. It says that he came into my driveway, pulled into the driveway at my house, and was no more than 5 feet away from me. When I turned around, made eye contact with him, and sprinted into the garage. If you watch a later video that has skid marks on it, there's 3 of them. Watch the one that was taken a little bit later at night, and you'll see me wipe my finger across the skid marks. And you'll notice that the little pieces of concrete that are piled up in those treads comes away with my finger. This is to show that those skid marks were where he skidded up and almost hit me. The man tried to hit me. He didn't come within 5 feet of me. He came within 5 inches of me. He says, I turned around and ran. Well, I challenge them to release this video, and it'll show that he literally tried to run me over, tried to hit me with his car in his driveway. Here's another lie that they're caught in. You heard the paramedic say that I was obviously injured. Here he says that the paramedics came and looked at me, and that I manipulated my extremities in every way possible at the request of the medical personnel, with no complaint or sign of pain whatsoever. Well, you've already heard
One paramedic say that that's a lie, tell that I was obviously hurt. I've got another paramedic that was there also on tape saying the same thing. These are just absurd statements. Now here he says that a prosecutor at the district attorney's office spoke to personnel in the Jackson County District Attorney's Office who advised that they would indeed be taking charges out against me. Well, we know that's not true either because you've heard the recordings. But what is apparent here is that these people have acted under a color of law to arrest me when they have no charges against me. That they did not follow a police report or any proper procedure, but rather because of contacts in the district attorney's office, they were able to get an order to kidnap me without any police report and without any charges against me. This is very, very serious conspiring and racketeering. So in that video, you see me, that was made 16 years ago again, well, shortly after the first time they arrested me, but you see me referring to other videos because I've already done this. 16 years ago, I set up a website and I started putting the evidence online. And you see me referring to evidence that says you've already seen, okay, but you haven't seen that yet. I should have it, and I'm working on finding it and organizing it, but I have to have a full-time job. I'm fighting as hard as I can to expose these criminals with no help whatsoever from the proper authorities, no protection. The people that want to be my friends say they're terrified. They're scared, okay? They wish me the best and they try to help me as much as they can, but a lot of them are just like, I'm terrified. I don't want to play with this. I don't want any part of it. They know it's real. That's horrifying when our government knows that they can intimidate citizens the way that they have and get away with it. These people must be held accountable. Let's watch another clip. This other clip's going to be a lot more relevant because it's going to show that this entire case was unfounded and that the people today who are still running the government are mobsters. Clip 6, please. On line 24 here, she says, this is one of the cases that really has her fearing for my wife's life. And that's absolutely absurd because there's not been any evidence that I've threatened anybody or anything like that. In fact, the officer had put in his report that she claimed to have been hit in past arguments. Well, the psychologist comes back and says that there is no evidence of that whatsoever. That my wife says that I've never hit her before, and that there's never been any threat of violence toward her or any precipitating event. So even in the psychologist's analysis, this has all been proven to be false. So what you see there is not a mark on her, no history of any threat to her, nothing. The only time that I got in trouble in my adult life for fighting or being any kind of physical behavior was not against a woman or my spouse or anybody in my immediate family, but rather for defending others, for defending myself when I was robbed. Very capable of that. I was an all-state wrestler. The concept of taking somebody's child when there's not a mark on somebody, there is no victim. You have seen the corrupt law enforcement on local levels in this grand conspiracy. In Sally Yates' family-run judicial circuit, under Sally Yates' supervision, where she's the federal prosecutor, where the DA's going to prison and there's all this government cover-up. How is it that the nation hasn't heard from me is the most important eyewitness in the grand conspiracy? Next week, we're going to take a look at the federal cops and the U.S. spies that can do what they can do with the weapons of FISA. We're going to play that bone-chilling testimony from the houses of Congress, congressional oversight of the FISA weaponization. Then we're going to combine what they reveal with what you already know about technology. And you're going to see what a nightmare of corruption is controlling your government. How much information that they have collected. And we've already showed you they tamper with the evidence and manipulate it and lie. They're going to do that to me in this campaign. And I want you to remember when they do it that I told you they would do it, because I didn't set out to be a politician. I set out to catch these mobsters. I'm not a politician. I didn't want to run for office. This is not the life that I chose for myself. This is what I have done in hoping to defend and recover my child, to prevent your family from experiencing the same thing, to expose the criminals that were conspiring to attack our government on the highest level. This is not what I wanted to do with my life. But nonetheless, this is the challenge that's been placed before me. Nobody else is doing it. Our country is under a heinous attack. The first time that I ever was elected for anything was at a junior high school dance. Numerous people started hollering my name and telling me to get outside. Get Ferris, get outside. I got outside to find a government employee, a guard for the Olympics in Atlanta, a gigantic man, a huge bodybuilder that had completely lost his marbles, screaming that the Russians were coming. My entire junior high school was cowed, terrified. They pushed me to the front and said, do something, do something. They knew, the people that knew me best knew that I would risk life and limb to defend them. Somehow, my fellow students in junior high knew that. Before I graduated from that school, a group of thugs attacked the same school. I got to my locker one morning, and a group of 15 or so fellas who needed someone to lead the charge against these thugs that were attacking my school. These people were attacking my friends and even the other teachers, according to this group that was waiting at my locker. They explained to me that some privileged minority to majority students who had been bussed in for athletics were rioting, that they were attacking students at the school because they knew that their privilege was being terminated. They wouldn't be allowed back the next year. That's the second time that I was nominated for anything. At the University of Georgia, the same thing happened, but it was much more sinister and political. It had to do with corruption in the school, tenured professors abusing their authority. People knew me from all over Atlanta, and when they were at the University of Georgia, they knew me. My fellow students and professor they asked me to represent them as the dean student advisor. I wasn't a dean student. My grades didn't even qualify, but I was on track to graduate, and I had some of the best grades in my class. It was a relatively small class, but they pushed me to do this. So we need somebody to represent us that's going to stand up for what's right, and they wanted me to do it. So I did it. And then the dean student advisors, this group of elite students from a university that's on the same magnitude as the city that I live in, this huge university, the University of Georgia, nominated me, the dean students, nominated me to represent them to the FAC, to the upper echelon of government at the university, to be in control of the money. I didn't want that. I would have never even tried to run for that position. I probably had the lowest scores of anybody in the dean student advisor group. But they came to me and explained to me that the whole thing was rife with corruption, and they wanted somebody that wouldn't be manipulated and bent to stand up and speak out about the things that needed to be spoken out about, to stand up to corrupt authority and not to use the position for my own benefit, but rather for everybody else. I represented physics and astronomy, the School of Physics and Astronomy, or the physics and astronomy in the School of Arts and Sciences. I never claimed to be the most popular student. I never strove to be the most popular student. I had a business, and I spent my time, whenever I could, at home running my business. Okay? I got a degree in physics as a backup plan. But nonetheless, the people that watched me knew that I would stand up and fight for them. This isn't a popularity contest. We're not here to listen and collect money from all these special interest groups. Our representatives' job is first and foremost to stand over all of this government corruption, to represent the victims, the witnesses. But my representative hasn't done that. So I have to stand up and fight once again. And I hope that you will support me in this. I've declared now that I am running for U.S. House of Representatives. You can see I'm not a politician, that I have very, very little experience. But the one thing that matters more than anything else in this nation is that we preserve this nation from the people who have attacked it in the most heinous fashion. They still are controlling it. I hope you'll vote for me. I hope you'll help me. As soon as the new year rolls around, I'll be collecting signatures to get put on the ballot. I hope you'll follow this broadcast. Till next week, stay safe. Thank you.